we are live. I believe this is it. So yeah, got the old shades on as it is like bright as anything, and my pretty blue eyes cannot handle the sun directly. So yeah, here we are. We're going to be talking about the weekly news. If you wish to call in on Skype or Discord, feel free. I'll put in that in the chat room very soon. So yeah, that'll be cool. So yeah, we're just gonna go run down the weekly news. It was a YouTube show that I was doing, but you know, I thought I'd try Twitch. Thought I'd try it on this. It'll be a longer episode from now on, less editing sort of thing. So yeah, pretty easy. Yeah, so pretty good. You know, pretty fun. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully everything's working, and I'm not going to get into the editing stage of just, you know, before I upload it to YouTube and realise that the audio's not working or something like that. Let's stick on the headphones. Let's I guess we can do this. We can get it all sort of fixed up and ready to go, I guess, you know. So last Saturday, I guess the 26th of August, we had in Britain, just outside Buckingham Palace, a terror probe after knife arrest outside Buckingham Palace. Counter-terrorist detectives are investigating after 2 police officers were injured while tackling a man with a large knife outside Buckingham Palace. Officers approached the man after spotting a large bladed weapon inside his car, which stopped close to a police vehicle at 8:35 p.m. on Friday. 2 officers received minor injuries to their arms while they tried to arrest the man on the mall, close to the palace's main entrance. Major disaster feared as Hurricane Harvey batters Texas. I don't know if this is the best way to do it, just going through it all. Maybe we'll just do it like, you know, point by point, a little bit quicker. But yeah, there was a hurricane, obviously, as you all know, Hurricane Harvey. And at this point, obviously, didn't know how bad it would be. So I'm kind of going through things that have already happened, I guess. But it's just to remind you of what's happened over the week. So obviously, they predicted at this point that Hurricane Harvey was going to be hitting Texas at 130 miles per hour. We know that slowly went down just to a tropical storm. Still very bad, but yeah, it was, you know, it was downcast, it was downrated, whatever you want to call it. It was meant to be the worst in 12 years. I'm not sure exactly if that's still true, but yeah, we got that. Eton deputy head leaves after exam scandal. So Eton's deputy headmaster, if you don't know what Eton is, it's a very prestigious college in Britain. It's, you know, where all your bankers, your politicians, all those sort of people go. Yes, he was accused of circulating questions from an upcoming exam in economics to other teachers. Mo Tanwir, a former investment banker, is no longer employed at the establishment, and relevant exam marks of pupils at the famous public school have been rescinded. Now, they say it's a public school, but come on, it's pretty private, really. You have to be of a certain class of people to get into it, or you have to be very intelligent. They basically train you to be an elitist, but hey, that's cool. Anyway, so there was a statement here. Whilst pupils had done nothing wrong, they were inadvertent recipients of confidential information, said a statement. Yeah. So Macron says entitled France is ungovernable. President Macron says France is ungovernable, arguing that the French hate reform days before he brought out labour laws that will overhaul the original society of entitlement and privileges, supposedly. Let's I guess we will get my image slightly higher, as it's kind of, yeah, this kind of works out. Alright, so we'll just sort this out. Okay, excellent. So I guess we can move this slightly higher. Beautiful, mate, beautiful. In fact, why don't we just do this? Boom. Okay, easy enough. Easy does it. So I guess we can do this. We'll put that like that. Perfect. Absolutely perfect, mate. Alright, and at least I can see my beautiful face. Spot on. Alright, so what have we got here? I mean, this is all kind of old Saturday news. So I guess we'll go to Sunday, the 27th of August. And again, if you wish to call in on any issues and have your opinion and your view, you can do so on Skype or Discord. All you have to do is obviously just type in the chat room. And in fact, hey, so you just have to, on Skype, type in Jake Talks, look for this, and whatever you want. If you want to troll, that's fine, that's cool. So, or you can, currently this is the one at the moment, so if you want to, either of those, call in, have a chat, go into general for Discord. Yep, so that, I don't know how long that'll last for, but it's up. If it's not working, that's because it's obviously just been refreshed. And obviously Jake Talks is for Skype. Obviously it's all year round. Anyway, so what have we got for Sunday? So Labour would keep single market for transition period. They are saying that they would keep the customs union for a transitional period after leaving the EU, says Shadow Brexit Secretary Sir Keir Starmer. Why did I add in the CH? Starmer. Writing in The Observer, he said the party would avoid a Brexit cliff edge for the UK economy, contrasting his position with the government's preference for bespoke transitional arrangements. So interesting stuff for the UK there. 8 people die on the M1 minibus and lorry crash. 6 men and 2 women died after the crash involving 2 lorries and a minibus on the M1 motorway in the early hours of Saturday morning. Police say that a woman, a man and a 5-year-old girl who were also in the minibus are in hospital with life-threatening injuries after the crash near Milton Keynes. 2 men have been arrested on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving. So that's pretty nasty. I mean, let's have a look at that naughty crash there. That's, whew. I mean, it's not something you wish to obviously show too much, but I guess we can sort of see just how bad this crash was. It's pretty horrendous. Let's see what have we got. Let's see a good image here. I say a good image, I mean an image that kind of can show exactly just how bad the damage actually was, because it's pretty nasty. So let's get this up here. I guess we can how do we blew my neck. Okay, mate. So it's just figuring out how the old yeah, let's get that up there. Okay, so we do this. Yep, there we go. Beautiful. Alright, so let's check this out. Here we go. Nice. Oop. We've kind of got a weird image of this, I think. Yeah, you do. Yeah, okay. Hold on, guys. I'm just still figuring this whole thing out, and I ain't got really any form. So let's just go back to check that out. As you can see, I mean, basically, one lorry, one guy was drinking, and he hit into another lorry, which then hit into a car, I believe. As you can see, that's some pretty horrendous damage right there. Pretty bad. So yeah, I mean, what can you say about that? That's pretty horrendous. Let's get off that. So yeah, I mean, it's not a picture, but at least you can see what's happening there. 8 people died. Yeah, we've already read that one. The SAS ready to join Trump's Afghanistan surge. So this is basically the UK, obviously part of the coalition, is kind of, I guess, gonna join Trump and the Americans going back into Afghanistan. I thought we'd have learnt our lesson, But anyway, so the SAS has been put on standby to return to Afghanistan as part of Donald Trump's planned military surge. Theresa May is prepared to approve a deployment of special forces personnel to hunt down Islamic State and Al-Qaeda militants. According to sources, she could also contribute drones and aircraft to coordinate attacks. I think it's gone a little bit lighter. Yes, it has. Excellent. It's gone a little bit lighter. I can stop hiding my eyes now. Not a little bit lighter, a little bit darker. Which is brilliant. Yeah, I think it's good. My face is very white. Very bright and white, and it's alright. Anyway, so obese parents fare better after common heart treatments. Okay, skinny patients are far more likely to die after common heart treatments than those who are overweight, new research has suggested. Wow, okay, that's pretty interesting. After studying more than 1 million adults, scientists found that those who were underweight were 5 times as likely as obese patients to die after a routine cardiac procedure. The phenomenon has been dubbed the obesity paradox. Interesting stuff. Okay, so and then obviously this is Sunday, so this is moving on from the Saturday. It says Texas braces for major water event as Harvey hits. So obviously, if you've been keeping up with the news, you'll know how Harvey went, Hurricane Harvey. It was downgraded, but if you haven't, then you can follow on over the next hour or so as we explore what happened during the week. So Texas braces for major water event as Harvey hits. The governor of Texas has warned of severe flooding at sites receives as much as 20 inches of rain. Now we obviously know it was more around 40 inches of rain. Still pretty crazy. So yeah, Notting Carnival opened a tribute this week for the Grenfell disaster there. So yeah, they had a small act of remembrance. It was really nice. Everyone was silent. They turned off all the music and everyone respected them. And they also encouraged people at the time to wear green for Grenfell, just to show your support. It says Theresa May decided her date of departure, ? What's this? Theresa May has reportedly set the date she will quit as Prime Minister. According to the Mail on Sunday, she has chosen Friday, the August 30th, 2019, as the day she will step down from 10 Downing Street. In a bid to face off leadership revolts, she has launched a Prosecco and chocolates charm offensive for Tory MPs. Downing Street denies the claims, saying, "We have hit peak silly season." So I think over this week she actually states that she wants to go for, she's here for the long term. She's going to stay basically until the next election. I mean, it's great news for certain followers of hers, but for the rest of us it's terrible news. Amazonian monkey spotted after 8 elusive decades. Wow, okay, so we found a mysterious and elusive Amazonian monkey which hasn't been seen in over 80 years. With its shaggy black hair and trademark golden legs, the Vanzolini bald-faced sake was spotted near Brazil's border with Peru. The lucky explorer said, "I was trembling and so excited I could barely take a picture." Interesting stuff. The Labour councillor says party has problem with black women. Okay. A Muslim Labour councillor says the party has a particular problem with black and minority ethnic women. Amin Alone, who was sacked after campaigning against extremism and sexism, told the Sunday Times, "So many black and minority ethnic women in the Labour Party are terrified. The silencing is so acute, the fear is so acute." Okay. Mayweather sets new record as he beats McGregor. Floyd Mayweather, obviously, he won on the weekend, the boxing against Conor McGregor. He beat him in the 10th round of one of the richest fights in boxing history. Mayweather, who came out of the retirement for the fight, now has a record of 50 fights unbeaten. He surpassed the heavyweight great Rocky Marciano's 49-0 record. He's a lot better than I thought he was, admitted Mayweather of McGregor afterwards. Yeah, I mean, there's certain, not conspiracy theories, but, a little sort of just people believe that it's kind of, it was all for show, it was just a circus, they just did it for the money, and they probably did. hey, I mean, they made hundreds of millions. Crazy stuff. Alright, so moving on to Monday the 28th of August, we have a hospital treats 133 after gas cloud hits beach. Oh yeah, so last week we obviously, it seemed like on the weekend, for the past couple of weeks now, we've had some nice weather. Anyway, so bank holiday Monday for England or the UK. We had, everyone was out on the beach on Mondays. Anyway, so a place in Eastbourne, which is on the south of English coast, had more than 100 people infected by a mysterious yellow gassy haze, which drifted onto the beach at a place called Burling Gap. Burling Gap. It's not Berlin. Burling Gap in East Sussex from the English Channel. A local hospital said 133 people suffered burning eyes, vomiting, and sore throats. Chemical clouds have drifted across from French factories in the past. Jesus, that's pretty crazy, pretty intense. And obviously now it's Monday, so Hurricane Harvey at this point has had its, done its damage, and so they report that catastrophic flooding hits Houston, Texas. Hurricane Harvey has brought flooding to the US's fourth largest city, Houston, Texas, described by U.S. meteorologists as catastrophic and unprecedented. Hundreds of roads are closed, hospitals have been evacuated, and residents have been told to stand on their roofs and wait for rescue. 1 year's rain is expected to fall in 1 week. Well, again, as we know, it's pretty damaging. Supposedly, I've read actually 2 days, so maybe once I go through the week, that it's going to cost about 125 billion to fix up and actually sort the coast of Texas out. So that's pretty crazy. So what have we got now? Davies returns to Brexit negotiation table. Now obviously over this week I've heard quite a lot about this, so it'll obviously be updated over the next hour or so. But yeah, on Monday Davies he returned to the negotiating table for a third round of Brexit talks, which resumed in Brussels. The Brexit Secretary, David Davis, says he wants to broaden the remit to include trade, despite the EU insisting that foreign citizens' rights, the Irish border and Britain's divorce bill must be settled first. Both sides have said there is no prospect of a breakthrough. So, yeah, this is basically, you've got two sides of this. Obviously, you've got Britain, and then you've got the EU member states, which I believe is 27 nations in the EU that are at the negotiating table. And basically, obviously, the Conservatives can't do the job very well, as with everything. For somehow they got voted back in, but anyway, probably because a lot of British people are scared of anything to do with socialism. I mean, it's been pretty on its knees since probably the 70s, I guess. Anyway, so that's how they got voted in. Just to answer that question, is that they didn't vote for Conservative, they voted against Labour, and it's Jeremy Corbyn. Even though Jeremy Corbyn actually got a hell of a lot of the votes, it wasn't too bad. Anyway, so I'm babbling. So yeah, with that, we'll see how it goes over the week. There's a new heart treatment which can lower cancer risk. Researchers say new treatment for heart attack survivors is the biggest breakthrough since statins. Sufferers given anti-inflammatory injections have fewer future heart episodes and a lower risk of cancer, says a team led by a Boston hospital. 1/4 of heart attack sufferers currently have another within 5 years. Wow, okay, it's pretty crazy. Labour MPs warn of soft Brexit backlash. 3 senior Labour MPs have warned the party faces a backlash after it announced yesterday it favours a 2 to 4 year transitional arrangement for Brexit. During this period, the UK would remain within the single market and customs union, meaning it would have to accept freedom of movement and pay into the EU budget. So some people will be happy with that, some people won't. Let's move on. The lorry driver of the M1 crash that we showed you, he's in court. Is charged with 8 counts of causing death by dangerous driving and other charges including drunk driving. So I think this is like a Polish name actually. Ryszard Mazierak, age 31, was one of the drivers involved in a crash on the M1 early on Saturday morning, which left 8 people dead. Another lorry driver, David Wagstaff, 53, is also charged, but it doesn't state anything here, so we'll find out later on. Hunt continues war of words with Hawking. So Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt, we actually reported on this the other week on Saturday show, that Stephen Hawking, he put his 2 cents into his thoughts of the NHS. So let's carry on reading this. Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt has again accused Professor Stephen Hawking, one of the world's most revered scientists, of making claims about the NHS without any evidence at all. So a man who is known to be destroying the NHS claims that a man who his whole of his life and all of the work he's ever done has had to be based on evidence to show his workings and his theories. So Jeremy Hunt claims that Stephen Hawking has no evidence of what he claims is that the Conservatives are destroying the NHS. All you have to do is look at the facts, and they speak for themselves. So he says he's wrong about health policy. Hawking has accused Hunt of overseeing a drift towards a US-style insurance system run by private companies. Well, they've sold off a hell of a lot of the NHS already. Now, a lot of right-wing people and Conservatives always like to talk about how Labour sold off, during Tony Blair's government, how they sold off a lot of the NHS. It's like this weird sort of thing where they sold it off. They basically sold off parts of the NHS and then rented it back from those companies that they sold the NHS parts of the NHS to. And so that's their like argument that well, you sold it first, even though we all know Tony Blair is not true Labour. Like, Tony Blair was a centrist. One of his favourite politicians, one of his heroes growing up as a kid was Margaret Thatcher. So that tells you all you need to know about that situation. So yeah, them comparing Labour to Conservative ways of doing stuff is, I don't know. Anyway, so remains of a World War II bomber found in sea. Engineers surveying the route of a proposed underwater electricity cable in the North Sea have found a wreckage believed to be of a World War II short Stirling heavy bomber on the seabed. It could be one of several RAF planes which disappeared without trace while transporting supplies to the Norwegian resistance in 1944 to 1945. Interesting stuff indeed. So the Texas Chainsaw Massacre director died on Monday. So the horror film director Tobe Hooper, or Toby, is it Tobe or Toby? We'll say Toby Hooper has died at the age of 74 of natural causes in Los Angeles. Perfect place. He made his name with a 1974 shocker, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was made for less than £230,000 in 6 weeks, but went on to be one of the most influential horror films and to be banned in many countries, including the UK. Well, that's sad. Yeah, it's a good film. Scary. I think that's actually scarier than the remake that they made. I'm not sure when they made the remake. It's like around 2000s. They made a remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Personally, I think the old one was much better. Oh, my apologies. Oh. Okay. So, briefing. Why are so many Russian diplomats dying? Interesting. Okay. Russian ambassador Migyaz Shurinsky has become the 8th Kremlin diplomat to die since the election of Donald Trump in November. Wow! Okay, interesting stuff. So that's the 8th person to die since November 2016. Wow, so this has sparked conspiracy theories. Shurinsky, ambassador to Sudan, was swimming in the pool of his residence in Khartoum on Wednesday when he seemed to suffer a heart attack. While there is no evidence to suggest his demise was suspicious, he is just the latest in a string of Russian emissaries to die unexpectedly. Foul play has been ruled out in some cases, but questions linger in others. That's either because the facts have changed over time, Details are hard to come by, other deaths are still under investigation, says CNN. Wow. Okay, so let's move on to Tuesday, the 29th of August. So floods are still rising in Houston. Yeah, so obviously this is Tuesday, so I think we'll leave that one, I guess. Maybe we can carry on, because over this episode you can find out exactly what happened. God, my eye. Flooding in Houston obviously is expected to worsen in the coming days. That's not okay, this is a bit that I wanted to read. So more than 3,000 people have already been rescued, some airlifted from rooftops by helicopter, and at least 9 are confirmed dead. Reservists have been called up to help manage the emergency. 30 inches of rain have fallen and another 25 are expected. So as we know, 40 did fall in one place, and I think another certain amount has fallen in another. We'll move on. I think that's in Texas and Louisiana at this point now, today, not the 29th of August. But hey, let's carry on. So Trump and Abe reacted to North Korea missiles. Donald Trump and Japanese leader Shinzo Abe shared a 40-minute phone call yesterday, then asked for a meeting of the UN Secretary Council to discuss North Korea's latest missile launch. The test firing passed over Japan's northern Hokkaido Island yesterday to land in the sea on the other side. Japan warned its citizens to take shelter. I mean, this is insane. Any normal nation would be expected to get attacked by firing missiles over another nation's country. It's insane. It really is insane. Okay, so warning that pensions gap is widening. Consultant firm Barney Waddingham says the pensions gap in the FTSE 350 companies, the difference between their pension obligations and the money they have put aside to meet them, has risen to 62 billion, or 70% of their profits. In 2011, the gap was just 25%. The firm says slowing life expectancy because of austerity will relieve pressure. Wow. So they're saying slowing life expectancy. What does that even mean? Slowing life expectancy. That is, yeah. So I'm gonna Google slowing. Okay, so slowing to reduce the speed of a vehicle or a process of a moving object. It also says to live or work less actively or intensely. I don't think any of that kind of helps, but I can say slowing life expectancy. Yes, I think I'm going to take from that it means making people die earlier. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say they basically want people to stop living so long. Yeah, anyway, so London's cartoonist 1987 murder investigated. So police are appealing for information about the 1987 murder of a Palestinian cartoonist in London. After reopening the case, Naji Salim Hussein Al-Ali, who worked for a Kuwaiti newspaper, was shot in the back of the neck as he walked to work in Knightsbridge. His cartoons were sometimes critical of the Palestinian leadership. A lot of potential conspiracy theories here, I guess. Okay, so we've got Sea Shepherd to stop chasing whalers. The organisation Sea Shepherd, which does its best to disrupt Japanese whaling in the Southern Ocean each year, will not chase whalers this season. Captain Paul Watson said the cooperation of hostile governments in league with Japan, including those of Australia, New Zealand and the US, means the task is now impossible. So basically, Japanese allies, Australia, New Zealand and the US, are basically making it impossible for the organisation Sea Shepherd to stop Japanese killing whales. So another point goes to evil in the world. Yeah, another destructive action by a nation and a people has won today, or Tuesday, I guess. Yeah, so Michel Barnier, the UK must begin serious negotiations. So he says the EU's chief Brexit negotiator Michel Barnier said at a joint press conference with the Brexit Secretary David Davis yesterday, the UK must begin serious talks as the third round of discussions started in Brussels. It's thought Davis is pushing to start discussing trade, despite an EU timetable says that will come later. Again, this is just the UK being stupid. Come on, we're the one leaving the organisation. We should kind of listen to how they want to do it, because, well, we can rule our nation, the UK, how we want once we've left. But until we've left, we're still part of negotiations, and if we just leave, they're going to blame it on the EU, even though it's technically our fault, because people like David Davis are being idiots. Okay, so Trump reverses Obama police weapons ban. So US President Donald Trump has overturned a ban imposed by his predecessor Barack Obama on the transfer of some surplus equipment from the military to the police. The ban was imposed after the unrest in Ferguson, Missouri, that followed a shooting of an unarmed black man in 2014 in order to make police less militaristic. So this is all about, obviously, you know, the military industry complex in America is so big that they're just constantly making military equipment, you know, vehicles that are, you know, just very militarized, you know. So they're like SUVs and things that have machine guns on top. They have armor plated bodies, you know, metal bodies and stuff. Things like that you would use in a war scenario like Iraq, for example. They have lots of surplus equipment that is no longer used. So what do they do with it? Well, if they can't sell it to another nation, what do? They sell it to the police force. So it's like selling to yourself to make money back on it. It's very weird. Anyway, so what we got? Photos prove Russian involvement in plot. Sky News says it has received photographs which appear to be further proof that Russian intelligence services plotted to assassinate the Prime Minister of Montenegro last year. Jesus Christ, that's a big news. Taken in neighbouring Serbia, the image showed two Russian men meeting. Edard Shishmakov and Vladimir Popov are said to be intelligence officers. Dun dun dun, the Russians are killing people. Wow, don't we already know that? And actor Ed Skrein, Ed, I don't know how to pronounce that. Don't lambast me over that. Ed Skrein quits role over whitewashing. British actor Ed Skrein has announced he's pulling out of a role after criticism his casting was whitewashing. Skrein said he was not aware that the character Major Ben Diamo was of Asian heritage in the comic on which the upcoming Hellboy remake is based. The 34-year-old said he hoped quitting would make a difference. Yeah, there's been a lot of that, and it kind of goes both ways, doesn't it, really? You know, I was in support of James Bond being a white British person still, because that was the character. A lot of people say, well, why can't a black British person, notably, what's his name now? Hold on. What's his name? His name is Idris Elba. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Idris Elba, great actor. But no offense, but I don't want it to be a different. I want, you know, I can get behind it. If it happens, it happens, and I'll still watch the films. I'll still enjoy them, and you know, but I'm just not into changing blackwashing, whitewashing, Asian washing, whatever you want to call it, changing characters that are a character's certain skin type. And I also agree that if a character is of Asian heritage, it should be an Asian actor playing that character. So I totally agree with Ed Skrein, and it works both ways. I believe there should be more people of colour and different heritages playing the characters that are written for them. You know, it works both ways. You know, you can't have one or the other. Both need to be addressed. But yeah, anyway, so let's move on. The briefing: how the Barcelona attacks could affect Catalonian independence. The terror attacks in Barcelona and Cambrils are a reminder that Spain is not immune to the large-scale atrocities that have plagued its European neighbours. In fact, the nation has a long and bloody history of domestic terrorism. So This was reported by the Daily Telegraph by Martin Evans. Eskadi ta Askatasuna, the ETA, the now disarmed Basque separatist group, killed more than 800 people and wounded thousands over a 40-year period. And the Madrid bombings of 2004, linked to Al-Qaeda, remain the deadliest attack to happen in Europe in centuries, notes the Independent. Just sort my mic out a little bit. There we go. So, although Spain has recovered from previous terrorist atrocities, the consequence of these latest attacks are unclear. The violence in Barcelona and Cambrils, which took place against the backdrop of tension between Spain's Conservative Popular Party and the regional Catalan government, may have a political impact on Catalonia's independence referendum on the 1st of October. Now, personally, I think that I don't know, these attacks are very strange, how they happen so close to certain stuff that could affect the nation. For example, the election, the British election, we had 2 terrorist attacks just before the election was happening. Very interesting. And this one has happened just before the referendum on the 1st of October. Will it affect people's way of voting? Possibly, because they might think of protection, dangers, things like that. Well, hopefully not. But yeah, there are definitely possible conspiracy theories out there that could be linked to this. But let's not get into that. Let's go to Wednesday, the 30th of August. So North Korea threatens further missiles. So North Korea's state media says the firing of a missile over Japan 2 days ago, so we've already heard about that, was the first step of military operations in the Pacific. It is also repeated threats against the US base of Guam, dubbing it an advanced base of invasion. The Japanese government told citizens to seek shelter as a missile passed over on Tuesday. Okay, so the curfew imposed as Houston floods continue. Citizens of Houston, Texas, have been banned from the streets at night as floods continue to affect the city. The curfew is to prevent looting, and emergency workers are exempt. An area half the size of Greater London is now underwater, and more than 13,000 people have been rescued. Okay, so let's move on, as we've obviously spent a bit of time on the old Houston floods. Kezia Dugdale quits as Scottish Labour leader. Kezia Dugdale, the leader of the Labour Party in Scotland for over 2 years, has unexpectedly resigned just 2 days after Jeremy Corbyn finished a tour of 18 Scottish constituencies. There is a speculation she left to avoid a clash with Corbyn supporters. She has previously been critical of the party leader and has faced criticism from the party's left wing. Well, the Labour Party is a left wing party, so if you're not left wing, fuck off. Come join a central party. It's about time that the people of Labour who are not left wing piss off and start a new party or join a centre party like the Liberal Democrats. If you are a centre rightist, get out of Labour. Fuck off. No one wants you there. Okay. Anyway, so if you was a centre leftist in the Conservative Party, pretty sure they'd want you to leave. It just doesn't make sense. Anyway, so May urges China to curb North Korea. Theresa May arrived in Japan last night for a 3-day visit, urging China to control the nuclear ambitions of North Korea, saying pressure from his large neighbour is the best way to stop Kim Jong-un from continuing his programme. The Prime Minister arrived days after North Korea fired a missile over Japan's islands. Yes, we know. So much talking is releasing unexpected gases. I do apologise if I burp every now and again. Okay, so William and Harry visit Diana Memorial. On the eve of the 20th anniversary of their mother's death, Princes William and Harry will visit a new memorial garden to Diana, Princess of Wales. Today, the White Garden at Kensington Palace, where Diana lived, had been planted to commemorate the anniversary. The Princess will meet representatives of the charities Diana supported. So, obviously, we all know the conspiracy theories around that situation. It must be horrible having to live in the same building, or, well, not live in the same building, but have to visit your grandma, who was probably behind the attacks of your mother. Must be a very horrible situation to be in. But hey, that's just my opinion. Houston evacuated after e-cigarette explosion. so the e-cigs have striked back. The Euston station in London was evacuated yesterday after an e-cig exploded, prompting a security scare. British Transport Police said smoke was seen coming from a bag and no one was injured. See, I've wanted to get an e-cig, but I am kind of worried about it blowing up in my face. Some of the injuries look nasty. The police said vehicles rushed to the scene at 20 to 8 p.m. last night and commuters fled, some abandoning bags at the station. Bloody hell, I bet that scares some people, doesn't it? Like, poof, you hear a bang in a tube and I can tell you, I would fucking run too. And I do apologise about the current swearing that's just gone on in the past 5-10 minutes. I will try to curb that. The irritant fog on Sussex Beach, which we talked about earlier on, came from a ship. So satellite pictures suggest a mysterious fog which injured beachgoers in East Sussex on Sunday, causing Burling Beach to be evacuated. That's Burling, not Berlin Beach. To be evacuated came from a ship in the English Channel. Initial reports said yesterday it could have drifted across from France, but the weather conditions make that unlikely. It is still not known what the gas was. Find out what the gas it was. Maybe we'll find out in the next couple of days, as we're only on Wednesday. Anyway, so Terry Pratchett's unfinished novels steamrolled. A hard drive containing the unfinished novels of much-loved comic author Sir Terry Pratchett, who died in 2015 suffering from the Alzheimer's disease, were crushed by a steamroller yesterday, fulfilling his last wishes. A vintage traction engine did the job at a steam fair in Dorset. God damn, I'm sorry about that. Whew. That was I could feel it coming as I'm reading. So yeah, it was to mark an exhibition about Pratchett. His last wish was for all his current unfinished work to be steamrolled. Whew. Okay. Let's have a sip of this. So yeah, we'll move on to one last one for Wednesday, and then we'll get to Thursday. Sweet juice. Okay, so I'm just gonna blow my nose. I'll be back in 1 second. So much better. So much better. Excellent. So, the briefing on how to avoid nuclear catastrophe in North Korea. The UN Security Council will convene an emergency meeting tonight to discuss the North Korea options after Pyongyang fired a ballistic missile over Japanese islands. Jesus, we know about this. Theresa May, who flies to Japan today, said she was outraged by the reckless provocation, while Shinzo Abe, the Japanese Prime Minister, said he favours increased pressure on North Korea with cooperation with the international community. Donald Trump said that all options are on the table. Okay, so let's move on to Thursday. Excellent. So, May denies resignation rumours. So obviously we know about earlier in the week she stated that she might be stepping down in 2019. Well, she has suggested on Thursday the 31st of August that she is here for the long term. Like I said, she's going to hopefully contest the 2022 election in an attempt to scotch recent rumours she might stand down. Yep, so we've repeated this. Labour insisted that this was a fantasy and claimed the Prime Minister is leading a zombie government since losing her majority. Let's move on. So the monsoon leaves 1,200 dead in Asia. More than 1,200 people have been killed in flooding caused by monsoons in India, Bangladesh and Nepal. Downpours across the Himalayan foothills have washed away hundreds of thousands of homes, destroying infrastructure. Mumbai has been paralysed by the rising waters across the region. 40 million are affected. It's amazing how that's the first time I've heard of that, and yet we've heard so much about the storm in America, Hurricane Harvey. This monsoon has killed 1,200 people in the region. I think like a couple of people have died in America. That's it. This is insane. And 40 million people are affected. Wow. God, I hope they're okay. Dugdale, I was outed against my will. So obviously we stated, in a couple of days back that Kezia Dugdale, the Scottish Labour leader who resigned, says she was forced to reveal her sexuality after a journalist chose not to respect her request that it not be included in an interview last year. Mary Riddle, who conducted the interview, denies Dugdale has made the request. Dugdale is in a relationship with an SNP MSP. So that must be quite hard when going to sleep at night. One of you is in one party, the other is in the other. Very interesting. But I guess she could be a spy. I mean, we have so many people in the Labour Party that are trying to destroy the Labour Party and change the Labour Party to what they want it to be. Maybe she was just part of an SNP sort of group that was destroying the Scottish Labour Party. So thank God she's out. She can do one. Airline pilot refuses to deport refugee. A pilot refused to fly from Heathrow yesterday when a failed asylum seeker who was supposed to be deported to Afghanistan via Istanbul became hysterical. Samim Bigzad, 22, was instead taken to an immigration removal centre. He had been the main carer in Margate for his father, who was granted asylum 10 years ago and has PTSD. Okay, so that's pretty sad news. Flowers appear on Diana anniversary. Floral tributes have been left by the public outside Kensington Palace 20 years to the day since Diana, Princess of Wales, died in a car crash in Paris while being chased by paparazzi, supposedly. Yesterday, her sons came to view the impromptu shrine to meet the crowds who had gathered there. In a statement, they said they were grateful for the tributes. World War II bomb forces evacuation of 70,000 people in Germany, Frankfurt, after they discovered the World War II bomb, which weighs 1.4 tons. Wow. It was nicknamed the Blockbuster. It could destroy an entire street. It was discovered on Tuesday after building works near the city centre. And the record 7.8 million fine for the online gambling firm 888 Poker. This is basically for them because they failed to protect vulnerable gambling addicts, and they've basically been fined that much amount of money. The British-born man told to leave country. So this guy, he lives in a town not so far away from where I grew up as a kid. So he's a British guy. He got told to leave the UK as he had no lawful basis to be in the UK, even though he was born there. His parents were born there. I think his mum was born in Australia, but she's lived here all her life. Her grandparents are British as well. So his mum was born in Australia because his grandma and granddad were in Australia at the time. That's the only way that he's connected as not being British. Anyway, beauty queen returns crown in protest. A woman was told by a beauty pageant organizer that she was too big and should diet, despite being a trim size 10. Wow, what? She's size 10 and they're saying she's too big? What? So she returned the crown. Zoe Smile, 28, had won the national title and was due to represent the UK as a Miss United Contents final in Ecuador. She said she'd received thousands of supportive messages. Let's Google this girl, this woman. She's attractive, definitely attractive, but I mean, she wears a hell of a lot of makeup. Let's get this up on the screen. So let's see. Can we get an image of her in her underwear? Can you see that? She doesn't look big at all. In fact, she probably could put on a couple of pounds. So yeah, that's her. Supposedly, what's with this camera? Actually, I didn't realise how. It seems a little bit. I do apologise about this. There we go. Beautiful. It looks much better now. Not as blurry. Man, that's been recording for 49 minutes like that. Good lord, I do apologise. So, the Venice Film Festival. So let's see what we got here. The Venice Film Festival has opened, marking for the many real start of the Oscars race. What? That is very strange way of writing something. Anyway, so the Venice Film Festival is an opening to the Oscars. You know, it's the beginning of like the season of the awards sort of thing, and it's kind of helps a track record of future Academy Award winners, something like that. Basically, if you win from here, you're going to win in one of them. This year's festival runs until the 9th September and has summoned Hollywood heavyweights George Clooney, Darren Aronofsky and Alexander Payne, along with art house luminaries IYY, or I have no idea how to pronounce that name, but you get the gist, and Abdelatif Kechi. Okay. The world's oldest film festival is seen to launch It's the world's oldest film festival and is seen as the launch pad for films that have gone on to Academy Award success. There you go. Like I just said. Including Best Picture winners Spotlight, Gravity and La La Land. Okay, thank God we're over that one. Let's go to Friday, the 1st of September. We're almost there, people. Hold on. Okay, so Fox. This is Fox. The International Trade Secretary Liam Fox has said the UK must not allow itself to be blackmailed by the EU. He suggests that talks on the future EU trade deal could begin before the Brexit divorce bill is agreed, something the EU opposes. EU Chief Negotiator Michel Barnier said yesterday the UK approach was nostalgic and unrealistic. There we go, we got through that one. My God, I need another drink. Talking constantly, just it dries the throat and makes it all very hard to do. I gotta love coffee. I love the coffee. I love the coffee. The coffee love me. I love the coffee. I love the coffee and the coffee love me. Okay, let's go. So the UN contradicts Trump's claims on Iran. The UN has said Iran is sticking to its 2015 multilateral agreement to limit its nuclear program, after US President Donald Trump insisted it was not. The UN says Iran's stockpiles of low-enriched uranium and heavy water are below the agreed limits. Trump is said to be looking for a justification to withdraw from the agreement. Of course they are. That was one of his main promises. Come on, don't believe the bullshit. Thank you, UN. I'm glad the UN has stood up for Iran. The Iran is not doing anything. Good Lord. Come on. I mean, there are a lot of people who probably hate me saying that, but Iran hasn't done anything to, you know, the UN are all over the place. They have lots of funding. They tell, you know, half the time the UN is there to help, but sometimes obviously it gets overtaken by the most powerful country in the world, USA, to take over Iraq back in 2003. Yeah, 2003. And obviously Afghanistan in 2001. But anyway, so what can you do, guys? What can you do? You can't change how people think about it. And then again, I mean, it would be amazing if Bernie Sanders had got in. A lot of you will probably disagree with me on that, because obviously Hillary Clinton was no better than Donald Trump. She is no better. She'd just do the same bullshit as him. Whereas it would be nice to see what would happen under someone like Bernie Sanders. Now, a lot of you would say, oh, well, he'd bankrupt the country, he'd tax the rich and all that crap. But we don't know. We don't know that he'd do that. You don't know that. That's just your opinion. You should give it a try. You should definitely try it. And eventually, you know, this way isn't working, the way that we've got so far, maybe it's time for a change. Anyway, so let's move on. I don't want to get too much hate for this. Dozens more troops head to Iraq. 44 Royal Engineers will be sent to the western Iraq for 6 months to build infrastructure as a coalition camp in Anbar province. Defence Secretary Sir Michael Fallon has said Their arrival will bring the total number of British personnel serving in Iraq to around 600. They are helping to train Iraqi forces to fight Islamic State. Trump's border wall prototypes ordered. Wow, so he's actually going ahead. 4 US companies have been commissioned to build a 30-foot prototype segment of border wall between the US and Mexico at a cost of $500,000 each. To be tested for security, the wall was one of Donald Trump's main election promises, obviously, but critics say it is unnecessary and impractical, with some claiming it will never be built. Well, it's happening. He's actually going on his province. That's amazing. I'm rather curious as to see how this works. Low pay workers penalised. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm liking the. Hold on, guys. I just got to sort this camera out a little bit. Just got to figure out how it's gonna happen. There. Yeah. I'm liking that. It's pretty good. Okay. Let's get back on what we need. There we go. Okay, so low-paid workers penalised for hospital visits. A study by the Trade Union Congress, the TUC, has found employers are punishing their workers for taking sick children to hospital. One low-paid mother said she was threatened with disciplinary after her baby stopped breathing. Fucking hell. Sorry, but that is needed. The study found that 29% of parents had to use annual leave last year when one of their children was ill. Jesus. I mean, it's not the business's fault that they're losing workers, obviously, which then makes them understaffed, but it's not the parents' fault either. So, how do you come to a compromise? How do you have to take one side or the other? I can feel for those parents, but at the same time, is it the business's fault? Is it down to the business didn't say, yes, let's have a baby. The worker said, I'm going to have a baby. Does that make sense? Like, basically, if you say, I kind of, I feel for both sides, I really do. But part of me thinks, I own a business, and so if I had someone working for me and they had a baby and then had to then just leave one day and say, I've got my child's got to go to hospital, I'd be like, yeah, okay, fair enough. And if I had lots of orders to do that day, then it'd be like, what am I going to do? So I totally understand it. I really do. I can understand it, both sides. But hey, let's carry on. Myanmar, nearly 400 Rohingya killed in 1 week. Nearly 400 members of Myanmar's Muslim ethnic minority Rohingya community have been killed in 1 week after Rohingya insurgents attacked security forces in northwest Rakhine state. 24 bodies, believed to be of Rohingya women and children, have washed up on a riverbank in Bangladesh, raising fears of atrocities. That sounds pretty atrocious to me. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny at all. I just couldn't say atrocities in a different way. That's 400 people died in 1 week. That's pretty bad. The UN definitely needs to look into that. Trans teenager took life over name change. A transgender teenager who took his own life at the age of 15 was angry with his all-girl grammar school because it would not give him permission to change his name until he was 16. Leo Etherington had been told he would not be eligible for gender reassignment surgery on the NHS, but his father said he had promised to pay for it. So that's pretty sad. Let's move on, I guess. Deplorable conditions on stranded flights. Canada's Air Transport Authority is holding an inquiry into 2 air transit flights which were kept on tarmac at Ottawa for hours on 31st of July, with passengers so distressed by the conditions that one eventually called the emergency services. The 2 flights were stranded without adequate air conditioning, food, water, or hygiene on the 31st of July. Wow, okay. I mean, it's horrible. If you've ever been in economy class, the normal seats on an airplane, you'll know it's cramped, it's hot, sweaty, stinky sometimes because of people. It's not a nice place to be stuck on, especially for a couple of hours. Oof, no. So it's pretty bad. Rains wash out bumper wildlife season. It has been hoped this summer would be a much needed bumper one for birds, insects and plants across the UK, but the August rains have basically not helped that at all. After a normal winter and a mild spring, wildlife was poised for a bonanza. However, autumn is expected to be a good one for fungi. Ooh, so if you like your fungi, get ready for September. But basically, the summer has not been a good one for wildlife, so yeah, that's not good. And last one for today, for this one, is: does militarizing the police make civilians less safe? Of course it does. Of course it does. The world was stunned when rifle-touting police officers in masks and body armor rolled up in Ferguson, Missouri in armored vehicles to stop the 2014 street protests over the police shooting of black teenager Michael Brown. They called him a black man in a couple of days earlier when we read this. Following the public backlash, then President Obama signed an executive order in 2015 limiting police access to equipment that belonged on the battlefield. Yep, pretty true. Fast forward 2 years to Donald Trump. This week the US president promised to make it legal again for surplus military equipment, including grenade launchers and tanks, to be passed on to law enforcement. Why the hell do the police need tanks and grenade launchers? What the fuck? How is that gonna... ridiculous. America, you need to sort your shit out. Crazy, absolutely mental. And so we are on Saturday today. Today is Saturday and we are on the last day. It's awesome. God damn, I'm getting a little bit... my throat's a little bit... you know. Trump asked Congress for Harvey down payment. So he's asked for £6 billion or $7.8 billion as an initial down payment to help with recovery efforts in Texas and Louisiana. The authorities say there will be further requests for funds when the full impact of Hurricane Harvey is clear. The US president is to visit Texas for the second time today. Some residents have been allowed to return to their homes. So that is as far as we've got with this whole Hurricane Harvey situation. At least now we're up to date. So let's carry on. Snooping councils threaten 2,000 dustbin fines. Councils are using bin men to snoop on households and report families who fail to recycle, says the Times. An investigation found that local authorities have ordered workers to rifle through bins and to record when recycling was contaminated with food or waste. Although infringements generally lead to fines of £60, in some areas households were threatened with penalties of up to £20,000 for leaving out bins for too long. Wow, that is insane. Absolutely mental. I totally agree that people should recycle. I recycle a hell of a lot. The neighbours upstairs don't recycle very much. I've noticed they recycle a bit of stuff, but they don't a lot of stuff. Anyway, so I do agree that they should, fine people. But come on, £20,000 for leaving your bin out too long. That's insane. Labour MPs say floppy left failing abuse victims. A sacked Labour frontbencher claims the floppy left... Oh, right, okay, so he's saying the floppy left, okay. He's failing vulnerable children because it will not confront the truth about sex crimes involving street grooming. Sarah Champion was dismissed from the shadow cabinet by Jeremy Corbyn last month after she wrote in an article for The Sun claiming that Britain has problem with British Pakistani men raping and exploiting white girls. Well, seeing as most abusers are white, I think there's a very small problem. It's not a big problem. We still have a huge... How about the problem that there are lots of elitist people on the top who are paedophiles, and there's lots being protected by the Conservatives. It's funny, when Theresa May was the Secretary of State, she somehow lost all the files and evidence. She lost it all, just disappeared. She had no, just couldn't find it. That could have put a lot of rich and elite people in prison. So yeah, we do have a problem with Pakistani men and Bangladeshi men, especially in the north. I know about it. I grew up there. Men around the age of, boys and men, 16 to 25. Even older sometimes, but that sort of 16 to 25, they're driving the cars. Obviously you've got young white girls any age from 12 to 18, maybe 12 to 16, 17, drinking outside, you know. And then they obviously come with a cool car, the cigarettes, you know. They can go and buy them beer and stuff like that. What do they want in payment? A blowjob, whatever else, you know. A little bit of fondling, maybe even sex, I don't know. I've seen it happen. It's crazy stuff. But it's also down to the parents. Like, stop letting your child drink on the street, you know. Find out what they're doing. Take away the phone, take away the money. Don't let them do this sort of stuff. Punish them. People are too soft on the kids. That's why there's a problem, you know. But it's not just British and Pakistani men. Like, I hate saying that because they're British men. If they're born here, they're British people. The only difference is they were born with brown skin, not white, you know. If you had an Italian guy who was born in Britain, like, if you had a guy who was born in Britain but his parents were Italian and, say, French, you wouldn't call him a French, Italian, British person, would you? Or a British, French, Italian. You'd call him a British person. Why? Because he's white and he looks British, like typical British. So I think of the same thing, you know. But anyway, so these British, Pakistani, and Bangladeshi people and men are not the only problem. I've seen lots of older white guys, you know, when I was growing up, doing the exact same thing. And all you can do is kind of just you know, say to these girls, you shouldn't be doing that. I'm not gonna lie, I never said any of that. I just kind of turned the blind eye, got drunk and stuff and whatever. Anyway, so let's move on. That's pretty controversial. How they're gonna sort it out, no clue. Anyway, tipsters rake in fortunes with misleading long shots. Tipsters who earn commission on traffic they send to online bookmakers are raking in money by deliberately recommending long shot bets that are unlikely to win, reports The Guardian. The tipsters have a strong vested interest in seeing their suggested bets lose because they take up to a 30% cut in the losses following the bookmakers' profits. Earlier this week, it was revealed that the industry was harvesting people's data to target low-income gamblers. Yeah, basically people who wish to make money because they're poor by gambling, you know, that lucky bet, that great, you know, you put an accumulator bet on, you bet on, say, 10 football teams to win, and then you make a nice bit of money. Obviously, I've done that a few times, and you put £1 on, say, like 10 teams to win, and you'll make, I don't know, you can bet like 12, anything from like, say, 10 to 50 quid sometimes, but anything higher than that, I would never do that because the risk is so hard for all those teams to win. So yeah, I mean, some people, I've seen people. I once went on a job. I was on a trial selling products door by door. So we were selling at the time I think it's called ADF. It's like a security system that goes on the house. And the guy who was teaching me on the break, we went to the betting shop and he bet like 20 quid in the machine, you know, like the cash sort of machine, like betting, and then he put on 3 bets, I believe. One of £25 on like football, then like a £5 on the horse racing, and I was like, what? This guy spent like over 50 quid just on his dinner break on betting. It was insane. Yeah. So gambling's a crazy one. It really is a crazy one. It just feeds on people's need for money, you know. Anyway, so scientists detect radio signals 3 billion light years away. Astronomers searching for signs of intelligent alien life in the universe have revealed they detected 15 mysterious radio signals from a dwarf galaxy 3 billion light years away. However, researchers said, I don't think they are coming from intelligent civilizations. The team is part of a breakthrough listen project set up by Stephen Hawking to discover whether we're alone in the universe. So yeah, it should be good. But I actually read further into this, and it's basically, even if we find they are intelligent, you know, if we scrambled the message and we found out what they were saying, they're dead. 3 billion light years away. We're never gonna. By the time when they sent that, we weren't even, the planet wasn't even here, or the planet we were, you know, like the planet was just evolving, being made. So yeah, anyway. So basically, the only thing we'd find out is that once upon a time, there were alien life here that could send signals. Anyway, so Hunt Lobby says National Trust painting targets. So the pro-hunting lobby claims the National Trust is painting targets by publishing details of hunting meetings. The trust came under fire for posting on its website the times and locations of legal hunts on its land. The field sports lobby said such information would be invaluable to saboteurs and animal rights activists, increasing the risk of a violent disruption. Well, depends what type of hunting you're doing, because fox hunting in Britain is illegal. So if it's fox hunting, that's illegal. The National Trust is not a organisation that is disallowed to have an opinion. It's allowed to have an opinion on the wildlife that's in because National Trust, if you don't know what that is, it's like a conservative for wildlife. So it conserves wildlife, it conserves animals on that land. So if you're going in there shooting animals, then they have a responsibility to protect those animals. So, I get it. People want to hunt, people want to have that thrill of shooting stuff. I get it. But at the same time, you have to also understand that the National Trust has an obligation to protect the animals that make its land nice and beautiful, I guess. I live quite close to a National Trust area, and it's really nice, and they do a lot of hard work. So imagine if you're working on there every weekend, fixing up stuff, making it look nice for people to walk through and see the natural beauty. You have, obviously they're not going to just take a neutral stance on it and let you shoot all the animals that they're looking after. Anyway, so let's move on. Kenya court invalidates presidential election result. Now we did talk about this on the past couple of episodes, that Kenya was kicking off people there because Kenyatta, I believe, he was supposedly the opposition to Kenyatta didn't believe that it was a fair result and that he'd messed about with it. Anyway, let's read it. So the Kenya Supreme Court has declared Uhuru Kenyatta's victory in the presidential election invalid and ordered a new vote to be held within 60 days. The court has heard the electronic voting results were hacked and manipulated in favour of Kenyatta, who was declared the election winner with a 54% vote. The ruling sets up a new race for the presidency between Kenyatta and the veteran opposition leader Raila Odinga. So good luck to both of them, and play fair, play nice. The Yellow Pages to stop printing after 51 years. Now this is crazy. If you live in the UK, everyone knows what a Yellow Pages is. No matter even if you're like a young person of say 8-10 years old now and you barely use it because you've got the internet constantly there. The Yellow Pages is massive. It's got every phone number there. It's got everything you want to know about. The Yellow Pages will stop printing from January 2019 after more than 5 decades. Its owner has announced Yell is to fully digitise the directory business, bringing to an end of the publication's 51-year run. The iconic yellow papered publication has run famous advertisements over the years, including the J.R. Hartley campaign in the 1980s and the French Polisher. No idea what the hell that is, but pretty monumental. That's crazy. Sports Direct used fingerprint ID to find unhappy workers. A trade union claims that Sports Direct bosses asked warehouse workers to press happy or sad emoji buttons to say how they felt about their working conditions, and then use fingerprint recognition to identify unhappy workers. That's so crazy. What? A spokesman asked, would you risk having hours withheld, possibly losing your job and being called in by management because you indicated dissatisfaction with your work environment? Wow, that's so... Oh man. Surely there's rules against this. Surely they're not allowed. Are they allowed to do that? Like, a lot of people would say, leave your job if you're not happy with it. But some people are stuck in these jobs. If they leave this and they have no job to go to, then they have to go on benefits, and then they get punished by the work in the pensions department, whatever the hell it's called. I haven't taken much interest in that for a while. Don't know if the name's changed. Anyway, so they would, probably get punished for leaving their job voluntarily. If you get fired or leave your job voluntarily, they don't give you any money. So there's no fallback. So you're stuck in a job until you find another one, basically. And if they're giving you terrible hours to work, or if you've got a job interview, for example, and then say, can I have this day off because I need to go and do something? Obviously not going to tell your boss that you've got to go for another job interview, but you'll just say, and can I have the day off to go and do this, whatever. So basically, my point is, if you turn down the opportunity to work that day, they might say, well, don't come in tomorrow, or that sort of stuff. So it's a very difficult situation to let people just work without any protection, which is one thing that the Conservatives want to do when we leave the EU, is take away workers' rights. Now a lot of people say that's not true. Well, it really is. Have a look what they've said in the past, trust me. And last and least, I guess, was the East Sussex haze caused by a shipwreck? So we've talked about this. The Coast Guard says the gas cloud, which affected hundreds of people on the East Sussex coast, could have been caused by a shipwreck. The unknown haze caused evacuations and led to 150 people seeking treatment for streaming eyes, sore throats and nausea. We've all heard this. After it hit the coast on Sunday, some of those who experienced it said they could smell chlorine, but the fire service said it was extremely unlikely to have been the chemical. And that is it, guys, for today's Saturday show. A very long episode, obviously. Usually an episode of Saturday to Saturday lasts 4 to 8 minutes, usually. Well, this one, not today. This is going to be a new version. So, yeah, get used to it. Basically, I just wanted to start trying to move stuff to Twitch a little bit, especially now I've got the webcam. So, yeah, we'll just see how it goes, I guess. I guess people probably switch off after a little while. We'll see. But, I'm getting 9 views a week for Saturday show at the moment. So I'm going to do it I'm going to keep changing it until it gets popular, or just how I want to do it. Even if it don't get popular, I just want to do it my way. And this basically is going to save me on a lot of editing. So, fantastico. General Francisco Fantastico. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you next weekend for another Saturday to Saturday show live stream Twitch. Remember, if you do come on and watch, you can have your say on any issues that have happened on Skype and Discord, so you're more than welcome to join them and have your say on any of these issues. That's a new thing I'm trying to put through Twitch, is engaging with audience members and viewers. So yeah, happy times, good stuff. So yeah, we're gonna leave it here, and yeah, I hope you enjoy this. If you've stuck all the way through, that's awesome. Alright, take it easy guys, bye now.